Good morning, students. Today we'll discuss database concept. Only few concept which is very important that we'll discuss, and the remaining half will discuss the data independence. So, except data independence, we are discussing in this particular top revision now. So, database concept. Database concept according to your new pattern. 1 mark 2 questions. 2 marks 1 question, 3 marks 1 question, and 5 mark 1 question. Here 2 marks. First, each one is possible for 1 mark. That is data, information, database, DBMS. And the 2 marks. Differences between data and information is possible for 2 marks. And 3 mark possible question. Define data, information, database. These are all possible for 3 mark question. In this slide, there is no 5 mark question. See here, give the examples of RDBMS or DBMS or DBMS softwares. So once they ask the question, give the examples of DBMS. Okay, first we'll discuss one by one. Data. Data is a raw collection of facts. It's a collection of raw facts, figures, statistics, data. It is unorganized and unprocessed. See here, the data what we have been collected from the several sectors that we are entering as an input. Okay, so once we edited that particular info data, that it is going to convert and verification has been done in the editing stage. That data is being organized. The data it is being organized and stored in the database. Why we need to store the database? Database is a collection of logically related data organized in a way that easily data can be accessed, managed, and updated. See here, the data present in the database, it is organized and it is possible for updation and it is possible to manage and access easily for further. Okay, once the data is processed, that data is called as organized data. Organized data, that it is going to be done as a output. What we are going to get the output, that is processed data, is called as information, and this is, it provides meaningful for the data and it is organized. You can give two differences here if the question comes for 2 marks. Data is a collection of raw facts and figures and it is unorganized and unprocessed. Information, it is a processed data, first point, and it gives meaningful and it is organized data. The data which is being processed, it is going to be stored in the database. Always information is depending on the data. Your data is not depending on the information. Please remember that point. The database, that's a collection of logically related data. That means what we have collected. See, all the information we cannot enter, only related data. Suppose if you consider it is a student details, only student information is possible to store in the database. Suppose student number, student name, course, fees, and the academic year. So only these informations are required. Is it required any his bank balance details in the student information? No. Did you got it? So the relevant information we are going to store in the database. Okay, that it is managed with the DBMS. DBMS is a software that allows to create definition and a manipulation of the database, and it provides protection and security to database. The examples of your DBMS software: MySQL, Oracle, Sybase, IBM DB2, and Foxflow. These are the popular DBMS softwares. Applications of database. See here, it is possible. Give any one application of database or give any two applications of database possible for 2 marks. Give any 3 applications of database possible for 3 marks. Give any 5 applications. Important question for this is an important question. It is possible to ask in any sections. That is a part A, part B, part C or in the part D. Banking. See here, in the banking, we are storing the information of the customer, that is account details, account number, then account type, then loans, and all these transactions are daily transactions, what it is being done, that is withdrawals and deposits, all details it is going to be stored in the banking. So here in the banking representation here, we are going to get the information not only a present day, previously which was happened, complete information we can get because of the database. Then water meter billing, how your billing will be generated. The previous reading and the present reading going to calculate for the number of units. Where we will get the previous reading? It is stored in the database. It is connected to the server based works so that easily we can get the previous reading. And the present reading, you will get the particular amount of water used in a 1 month so that your bill will be generated. Then railways and airways, reservations and scheduling information. Suppose if you want to reserve a ticket for either any transportation, not only a railways and the airways, any transportation, it's not restricted. You need to give only, you need to reserve for only 1 or 2, 3 days. So 3 months before you can reserve. You got it? So once the reservation has been confirmed, the details will be present in the database and there is a chance of pre-scheduling and a postponing and a cancellation. But the cancellation amount deductions will be there. Everything will be maintained in the database. Then colleges, that means to store the student details, course registrations and the students achievements to be stored, we need a database. Then credit card transactions, that means completely a banking transactions or online transactions, what it was going to be done, everything can be stored in the application data. In these are all the places we are using the database. Not only here, hospitals to store the patient details and um, doctor's details, and a payroll system to generate the salaries. Okay, these are all the places they are using the applications of database. We'll move for the next slide. Differences between manual and computerized system. See, the image itself was telling your information completely takes place manually with the help of papers. With the help of papers. If n number of files are there, it is very difficult to process the data. Okay. We'll discuss one by one. Entire process takes place manually. In computerized, entire process takes place with the machine. Speed and accuracy is limited. You know that. If you want to search the data present in these files and if you don't know the file number, then you need to search all the files until you get the information. Here, high speed and a greater accuracy. There is a search option. With that, we can store the data. Accuracy means here redundant copy will not be stored in the computer, but it is a chance of storing the redundant copies also. Then volume of data can be processed is limited. So per a person, when they're doing with the manual, so there is a limit of doing that. But here, large amount of data can be processed. It has a time restriction. A person can work only 8 hours or minimum 12 hours. More than that, it is not going to be work in a day. But here, there is no restriction in work. 24 hours in all 7 days, the data can be processed. Here, papers and files are used to fill the information, thus it is limited, can be stored. Here, magnetic disks are used to store the data and can store large amount of data. Overall cost is high. Overall cost is low. Labor cost is high. The labor cost is economical. Economical. Okay. Database users. Who are all the database users? If you want to install or if you want to adopt a database for any particular organization, first we need to get the information based on that your application programmers. Your application programmers are going to develop the system. Develop the system. They are going to write the code for that. These programmers are going to design the application program. That is application programs and system analysts. System analysts, they are going to write the code for that. Then who will use that one? End users are going to use. This particular system, what it is being developed and which one they are using, it is being managed by database administrator. Database administrator. So first database designer is going to design, and that design applicant analysts programmers are going to write the data for that. And application program is available in the DBMS software, and these DBMS utilities, they are collecting the data what it was entering. It means end users what they are entering through the help of application programmer. The data is going to be stored in the DBMS. Based on the query what it was given, the data is going to be given back to the end user. Overall management is done by your database administrator. Database administrator. Okay. Then database designer, they are the responsible person to identifying how data has to be stored in the database. How data has to be stored in the database. Entire system is managed by system administrator. This is a database system environment. If you want to adopt a database system environment, these are the important persons required to use that particular database. Application program is there. Nobody was using. What is the use? Designers are there. They know that how to store that data. Nobody was ready to develop. That also no use. All these four members work together is very important to adopt the database system environment. So depending on that, see, database user, explain, then you need to explain. Mention, you need to mention only. Did you got it? This is also possible for 1 mark, 2 marks, 3 marks, not for 5 marks. Database management system. Once they ask, this is an important question for 5 marks. 5 points, 5 marks. Many points are there, so that only 5 points is enough for you. What is a DBMS? It is a software that allows you to create a definition and a manipulation of database, and it is also provides protection and security. It is a controlled data redundancy. Reduces the data duplication and saves the storage space. That is called minimum data redundancy. Minimum data redundancy. And it is going to share the data between multiple user and applicants. Data security. It gives more security to your data. Gives more security to your data. Backup and recovery. If anything happened to one particular system, the data centralized database management. It is a centralized, so that data can be recovered. Data can be recovered. And multiple user interface. Multiple persons at a time data can be accessed. Hence, it is enforcing data integrity and constraints. Support of concurrent access, that is called multiple user interface. It supports for concurrent access of the end users. It reduces the application development time. Data privacy is there. So whatever the reservations has been done, the details will not be shared for others. That is, data privacy is there. Complete data is managed by your data administrators. Okay, these are the advantages of your DBMS. Then, various levels of data implementation or data abstraction. Please remember, explain three schema architecture or give the architecture of DBMS or explain the different levels of database implementation or data abstraction. Data abstraction, then you need to explain this three-level architecture. In this architecture, the overall database description can be defined at three levels. What are those levels? Internal level called physical level, conceptual level called logical level, external level called view level or end users. End users. The architecture is proposed by American National Standard Institution and Standard Planning and Requirements Committee. Please remember, these are the abbreviations are important for the final exam point of view. SPARC and ANSI. RDBMS, Relational Database Management System. Internal level. This is the lowest level of the abstraction. The internal level is the one, it is the closest to the physical storage media. This is also sometimes termed as physical level. It describes how data, this is a very important. That means your internal level describes how data are actually stored on the storage medium. At this level, complex low-level data structures are described in detail. How data is going to be organized is going to be decided in the physical level. Then what's about that external level? External, that is conceptual level. That conceptual level describes actually stored what data are actually stored in the database. That means it describes what data are actually stored in the database. It also describes the relationships existing among the data. At this level, the database is described logically in terms of simple data structure. Simple data structure. External level called your end users. Okay, this is close to the user and concurrent with the way in which the data are viewed by individual user. Most of the users of the database are not concerned with all information contained in the database. Okay, these are the three levels. Please remember, it is a very important question, student. Many times it was repeated in the final exam. Then these definitions will support you for 1 mark as well as 5 marks. Explain ER diagrams. Then 5 marks you can expect, and each definition is possible for 1 mark. What is entity? Entity is a real world object. Please add the word here. Entity is a real world object. It may be a place, it may be a person or a class. In AR diagram, the entity is represented through a rectangle symbol. Rectangle symbol. Attribute. It is an instance of an entity or it gives the properties of the object. Properties of the object called entity. That is called attribute. That means properties of an object or an entity is called attribute. An attribute is represented with the ellipse symbol. This one. Okay. Weak entity. Weak entity is an entity that depends on the another entity. There is no exact value for that entity. It is always depending on the other entity. It is represented using double rectangle. Double rectangle. For example, your debit card number. Your debit card number is always depending on your account number. Only with a debit card number, we cannot access your account except your account number. Such an entities are called as weak entities. Composite attribute, an attribute which is having their own attributes. Their own attributes. That means, for example, address. Address is formed with a street number, area numbers, pin code, okay, and the district. So these are the values togetherly formed as a one attribute. Such an attributes are called as composite attribute. Then multi-valued attribute. What do you mean by multi-valued attribute? For example, phone number. Phone number, parents' phone number, mother phone number, father phone number, or email. So both parents are having their emails. That time you can enter both the details. Such attributes are called as multi-valued. That means multi-valued attribute can have multiple values. It is represented with a double ellipse. Double ellipse, that is called multi-valued attribute. Then the last one, that is a relationship. A relationship describes a relationship between the entities. Relationship is represented with the rhombus or a diamond shape. How it is participated between one entity with the another entity, relationship will be described with the rhombus symbol. Okay, so this except file organization completely we discussed in this chapter. Okay, so please concentrate for your 1 marks. So 1 mark. So in all the chapters we have a 1 mark. Typical configuration, one question is possible. From your Boolean algebra, one question is there. Then your data structure, 2 questions are possible for 1 mark. And your function overloading, 1 question. With inheritance, please go through. Inheritance is very important here. We have less number of 1 mark questions possible in the inheritance, but you have 2 questions from the inheritance for the final exam point of view also. Please prepare inheritance definition, base class definition, derived class definition, advantages are possible, and mentioning the types of inheritance is possible. Virtual class definition is possible. Abstract class definition is possible. Visibility mode definition is possible. Only few number of questions are there. Only very less number of questions are there. Please go through all the questions. Don't leave. Inheritance definition, base class, derived class, advantages and visibility mode, definition of the visibility mode and what are the visibility mode, virtual base class, abstract classes. Please go through all the definitions. It's a very important for the final exam point of view also. And one question from the pointers and 2 questions from the database management system. So right now what we have discussed, only within that it is possible to get both the questions. So you just go through once this one. In the later session I'll give you all the 1 mark possible questions from all the topics except first chapter and the 4th chapter, that is your typical configuration and data structure we discussed. And earlier we discussed with the classes, but right now there is no 1 mark question from the classes. So the rest we'll discuss after your midterm, but right now you just go through these points. Okay, students, we'll meet in the next class. Thank you.